God rest ye merry gentle, let nothing you dismay. Remember Christ our Savior was born on Christmas Day to save us all from Satan's power when we were gone astray. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy. From God our heavenly Father, a blessed angel came, and unto certain shepherds brought tidings of the same, how that in Bethlehem was born the Son of God by name. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy, comfort and joy. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy. Now to the Lord sing praises, all you within this place, and with true love and brotherhood each other now embrace. This holy tide of Christmas on others lofty place. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy, comfort and joy. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy. Hello all there, Tony Baker from Sixth String Country, back for yet another Christmas lesson, and this time we're going to be looking at God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen, and we're going to be doing it loosely based on Randy Travis's version, and it's going to be finger picking, or finger style. And if you want to be notified right when we release new videos, make sure you subscribe on YouTube and click the bell, else you won't get the notification, and also like us on Facebook, and then you'll get notified right when we release new videos like this one. So for this version, I say loosely based because there's just a lot of other instruments kind of going on along with the guitar, and we're narrowing it down to just this acoustic guitar part. So we've adapted it just a little bit, but this would work well for fingerstyle and vocal, or if you wanted to accompany somebody else singing it. And you could I've got the chords on the tabs as well. You could also just kind of use downstrokes and strum through using these same chords. All right, so in this first video, we're going to talk through the introduction and the verses. The introduction looks like this. So we're going to get this and then the verses, and then in the next tutorial, we'll talk through the solo guitar bridge. So let's dive in and learn this introduction. We're going to need a capo on the 3rd fret, and start by making an A minor chord, which is open A string, 2 above the capo, 2 above, 1 above, open. All right, and for this intro part, we can kind of set our fingers to where our thumb is going to be covering this A string and also the D string. We got pointer finger on our right hand covering the G string, and middle finger on our right hand covering the B string. So we pick through this A chord, A string, G string, B string, then D string, and then drop to open on G and B, and that's the intro. 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3, 4, and it happens 4 times. All right, then Then we get into the verse. When we get into the verse, we're more just going to be picking through these chords. That's the first line of the verse. Let's learn just that much. Same thing on the A, and we're going to use a lot of the same picking patterns. Once we get through these first couple lines, it'll get easier, and we're going to play all 3 verses with vocals the exact same way. All right? So this A chord, we're doing thumb, thumb, pointer, middle, ring, and then back down just to that G string. And then one more time. And then when we get to this, it's an F major 7, 13. We're going to use our thumb for the bottom 3 strings, pointer finger on the G string, and then skip over to your ring finger on the high E string, open. And here we have 1st fret of low E, 3rd fret above on A, open D string, 2nd fret of G, open high E. And now use the same picking on an E7. So that's open 2, open 1, open high E string. And then the next line repeats all the way up until that last E chord where we'll make a slight variation. So let's play through the second line. Here's the little variation. All right, so now we're doing an E7 sus and resolving it. So we're going to start like this, open 2, 2nd fret of G, open B, and then get back and grab that 1st fret of G. All right, so that whole second line one more time. Then we have a D minor for this next line. I'll demonstrate it once and we'll talk about it. 3 new chords, D minor, C, then A minor, which we know, and G. Looks like this. Third line of this verse, 1, and we're going to start on a D minor, which is just open 2, 3, 1, and to pick through we're going to go, we're just assigning thumb, pointer, middle, 4th, right, or ring finger. We're going to pick through, we'll go back to the G string, high E, B, G, right, 2, 3, and 4, and 1. Then just make a standard C chord, 2 or 3, 2, open, 1, open, and same picking as the A minors we were doing. We're just going right through and back down to the A minor and the G, where we're gonna. So we've got 3rd fret with our thumb, and then on the D string, G string, and B string, open, open, open. Then with our thumb, we walk up. Open A, 2nd fret of A, and then we're back to a C with the same picking. Then back to an E7, which we've done the first time through on the verse, right? Back to an A minor, same picking. And then the same thing on a G that we did before. Thumb, 1, 2, 3, walk it up, back to a C, and back to the E7. And then you're back to the intro. All right, let's play through a whole verse. All right, I'll count us in. If you need some time to get your fingers going on that, take your time. That's the great thing about video. Go back, rewind. If you're having trouble with a section, memorize it. Ideally, you can memorize this because it's a lot of repetition in terms of how we're picking these. So if you can just focus on working up nice and slow, about to the tempo we're doing. And getting it memorized if possible, where you're not looking at the tabs all the time. And then you can start working it up to speed with a metronome. It's at about 126 beats per minute, and you could start at 80 or 90 and just slowly, work up to speed to where you're getting this right along with the recording. All right, so here's a nice and slow demonstration you can play along with when you're ready. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and verse. All right, and that's actually everything we need to know. Let's talk through the rest of the song, all right? So right after verse 1, we go to the intro. Same as the first intro. Then we play verse 2, the exact same way that we play verse 1. In the next tutorial, we're going to learn how to play right, where we're actually doing a solo guitar arrangement. But when the vocals are going on, you don't need to do that. When the vocals are happening for these verse 1, verse 2, and verse 3, we're just going to play what we learned, and we're accompanying the voice. Right? So we know that already. After the solo, we just do verse 3, which is exactly the same as 1 and 2, and then the outro is exactly the same as the intro movements. Okay? So that's really all we need to do to get our fingers on everything. And you could actually not do the solo version if you don't want to, or that's something you don't want to put the time into right now, and you could just play underneath of yourself singing this song with this nice finger picking part. So there's a lot of options here. Let's move on to this next tutorial and learn how to play the solo acoustic bridge. All right, here we're going to learn the solo acoustic part. This is meant to be played just with one guitar, solo acoustic. This doesn't need a vocalist, and it's kind of replacing the 12-string solo that Randy Travis has in his version, and we're just going to learn a nice solo acoustic arrangement that can almost stand on its own if you needed a little filler music at a Christmas concert for an offertory or whatever, a little Christmas show, or even just you wanted to play the intro and do this solo acoustic arrangement a couple times at a Christmas party. There's a lot of uses that you could even just use this all by itself. But in the context of our jam along, this is the bridge. It comes between verse 2 and verse 3. And we're carrying the melody as well as playing the roots of the chords and some other things in the middle to just make it a little more interesting. Let's jump right in. This is all tabbed out beneath the video player at sixstringcountry.com. And we're going to start with this intro, which we already know, we learned this already. But the second time, you need to go right back to that second fret of the G string, and then we get into it. We'll do this little pickup that we just talked about, and then launch into it with an open A string and the second fret of G at the same time. Just going to kind of be marching that down. 2 on the high E, 3 of B string, and then here we do this. First fret of B, and then our thumbs on the second fret of D, open B, second fret of A, or G, sorry, and then open G. And that's that whole measure. So the pickup 2, 3, 4, 1. Have 3 and 2 on D and G, then walk it up the B string, open, first, third, and then this is really an E chord, and we're going to play the root on this second fret of D and open high E string. And then finish out that E shape here, so we have our little walk arpeggio through this chord of 2, 1, open, and then we're back to the A chord with that pickup on the 2nd fret of G. So the first line, one more time, 2, 3, 4. Now very similar thing here, it's continuing on, 2nd line. It's all the same to that part, right? But now we're just gonna walk straight up. So thumb, pointer, middle, 4th, just rock it right up. And then we get to a D, get your fingers on a D minor shape and pluck the D and the high E string at the same time. Then 3 of B. All right, so that's, then 3 of B, open high E, 1. Now, this kind of a C chord, make a C chord and put your pinky down on the 3rd fret of high E and pick just the A string and the high E at the same time. Then the high E string, pick it and slide up to 5. And then open, 3 of B. Now get your fingers on an A minor shape and just play the A string along with the B string. G string, open, B, 1st fret. And then 3rd fret of D and low E for a G chord. And then pick through the D and the G string. 1st fret of B, 3rd fret. And then open high E, 3rd fret of A for a C chord. And then G, 1st fret of B. And roll that pointer finger back to the 1st fret of high E, back to open. Now we're going to go to an E7 again, but just play the D and the high E string at first. 3 of B, 1, open. And then we're back to this open A string, and they don't do the little tag that happens in all the verse progressions. They don't do the tag for the solo. So we just go right back into this intro. Then you launch back into verse 3. All right, let's play through nice and fluidly. I'll go nice and slow. This will kind of give you a baseline tempo to start with. And then, see if you can memorize it. It's not too long, so see if you can memorize it so you're not always having to look at the tabs and then your fingers and everything. You can just concentrate on what your hands are doing. And if you're having trouble getting it up to speed, start slow, 80 or 90 beats per minute. Work your way up until you can get up to about 126. All right, here it is nice and slow. 2, 3, 4. And remember, if you're on a desktop or laptop or our app, which should be coming out any day now, you can isolate just this guitar track along with the metronome, or you can do that along with the drums or the bass or the vocals and slice it, dice it however way you want. You can slow it down, you can loop it. So use all these resources, and when you're ready, play it along with me at full tempo with the jam along video.